Rich ladies, and welcome Bailey. We are here. We're going to have a really good, informative episode, educational episode, and transparent episode. So, Bailey, you joining us and tell us a little bit about why you're joining us.
Well, I'm Bailey Banks. I am owner with my husband of Virginia Tactical Shooting Academy, where we sell firearms, we train and teach all the basics. And basically our business was started on training. We sell firearms as a byproduct of what we do, but our main focus is to get people trained because number one, it's about knowing owning a gun is one thing, but knowing how to fire a gun, manipulate a firearm, how to carry properly, knowing your laws, which is very important in your state. That's a big thing that we see a downfall of, especially around that area, because we tend to see more people come to class because it's court appointed. They have to come to class because they particularly had their firearm in the wrong place or they were the wrong place at the wrong time. And it's unfortunate, but we try to keep them in order. But we do a lot of children's classes. I do a lot of ladies only classes, just for us to be comfortable because it's kind of hard to learn in a testosterone based environment because we feel comfortable to ask those questions. We do co-ed classes as well. We do basic pistol, which goes over marksmanship, how to actually manipulate that firearm, and knowing how to shoot for precision. Yes, you can do that. Then there's shooting for defensive, which is something a total different realm from actually knowing how to shoot the pistol or whatever type of firearm you're going to use. We also do rifle classes, which a lot of more women are getting into now because at first I wasn't the person to carry a firearm literally until my husband was like, yeah, I'm not with you all the time. So I need you to start carrying a firearm. And I wasn't comfortable because one, I just had a baby and he's with me predominantly time. Now it's like I don't even leave the house without it. Like it's gotten to the point where I carry one in the chamber. Sometimes I may have one in the car, one in my purse. It just depends. It depends on what day it is, what I'm doing, where I'm at. So I feel like I became more into it. And I only been doing this for 2 years, and now this is a livelihood of mine. And now, coming from doing banking to going to guns is like something like I never imagined. It was never something that I wanted to do. Never a thought of mine until I seen the need, especially in our community, and just seen the need of how much people respect was starting to respect the firearm versus trying to educate people now because a lot of people don't know these things. And like I said, we always get the slap on the wrist first and then learn the hard way and get consequences for it first, and then instead of just trying to avoid that situation. So it's I would say it's been a blessing to just to the business and to people, having people come ask the questions and having them call, being that safe person for people that's carrying firearms. So that's just basically what we do 24/7. What I do 24/7.
Well, I think that you are a blessing, Bailey, because I would hate for somebody to come to you because they've been forced to come to you.
They do.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
unfortunate and it sucks, but they feel like okay. And to me, I feel like it's more of us anyway that we tend to see that tend to, get the burnt part of it.
right.
And when that happens and they see somebody like me
Mm-hmm.
tell them about gun safety and how to carry a firearm or teach them, they feel more comfortable. So and that's another thing. We like to make a comfortable environment for everybody, regardless of what color you are. But that's what we're here to do. We want you to know, like, yes, we know these things just as much as which the Second Amendment wasn't really made for us, but we know just as much as they do. So, that's what we're here for, and that's why we want to make people comfortable. And that's what makes our business strive, to be honest, because they're like, these people really talk to us about these things. They didn't at first they didn't think so. Everybody just a little judgmental when it comes to like, I don't know, how to feel. And after a while, like words start getting out. They're like, oh, these people, they know what they're talking about. So
Yeah,
that's what makes me feel good about being that person in the community where they say, hey, call Virginia Tactical. They probably need an answer or point you the right way. And that makes
that's
me feel good.
good because you don't
Yeah,
want to be
so good.
calling the lawyer to point
Yeah,
you
right.
in
Exactly.
the direction and say, "Help me because I'm in trouble now." I used to have a shop, a beauty shop down in Virginia. I live in New Jersey now, and I have a Glock, and I used to carry it
Mhm.
because I was a business owner, and I was very uncomfortable, Bailey. I'm not gonna lie, I was very uncomfortable carrying it because I thought that in my mindset that it was
Mhm.
going to put me in a position to have to use it because I have it. You see
Yeah.
what I'm saying? It was
Understood.
Yeah, the fear of having it made me think that I'm going to have to use it. I can't just show it to you. I'm going to have to use it on you.
Mhm.
That was a big fear. I'm up here in Jersey, and Jersey has really, I mean, Virginia has strict laws, but Jersey, I think that you got to go to the courthouse and find out what the hidden laws are, because they really have some really tough laws here.
Mhm.
So I don't take mine out the house now, and it's actually kind of hidden in my house, and I really hate that I can't take it out because I do live right outside of Philadelphia. I go to Philadelphia
Mhm.
often, you know what I mean? But I can't afford to be in the crosshair of what I think the law is and what the interpretation is. But
Mhm.
I am a proud gun owner, and I say that is because it's my right to own a gun. Of course, as an American, I don't have any criminal record, so I should be able
Mhm.
to have that as a part of my lifestyle. But I do want to ask you a couple questions.
Mhm.
Women of color are, I'm going to say, knocking down the door, purchasing their
Mhm.
firearms. Okay. And I know we have seen a paradigm shift far as gun ownership, especially with us,
Mhm.
and being able to learn the correct way. Because you mentioned a lot of different entities, Bailey, like, the defensive way of owning it, the
Mhm.
educational way of knowing what to do and what not to do. Tell me, in your opinion, the people that are coming to you, far as women of color, what is their feedback that they're giving you why they came in the first place?
Well, one, most of them are the most I've came across are especially just having a ladies only class, because like I said, I feel like we're a little bit more open when we're in a room with a lot more ladies, and like I said, we interpret things a little bit more better than men, and and it's just the honest truth. We're overthinkers. Like, we
Yeah.
overthink. We try to, like, think of every scenario that we can.
Mhm.
And to be honest, that particularly what makes a female a better shooter than a male, because of that. And
Oh,
and yes, and we actually become better shooters than men because we're overthinking. We're trying to, like, concentrate on what have I done wrong. And I
mhm.
tend to see more women come to class for one. My number one reason is probably like domestic violence.
Ooh,
And yeah, and it's so unfortunate, because I try to tell them, I know the law sometimes is not always on our side,
right.
but I think I have the upper advantage as a federal firearms licensed dealer who sells firearms and teaches classes. I can tell them what, more than likely, if you get into a situation, what they're going to look for. So I tell them all the time, don't just come and get your firearm for that particular reason, because that's the first thing when you use that firearm, that's the first thing they're going to do is reach out, especially if you bought it from us. They're going to say, when did you get this gun? They're going to know what date you got it, how you got it, when you bought it. So I try to tell them, your paper
Wow.
trail is everything. And then sometimes we'll get those ones that, my husband bought me this gun and I didn't like it. And literally, that's the first thing that I tell them. I say, hey, buy the firearm for yourself. Just because you go to a gun store, you don't really know what you're looking for. And you ask a male, say, hey, what's the best gun for me? And they just throw you something. We just end up paying for it. And I
That's
said, no,
true.
you should not shop like that, because you don't buy your clothes that way. So if
Right.
you're going to spend your money on something, buy what you want. Don't make it a hard decision, because after a while, to me, like me, myself, it went from one firearm to having to buy a firearm for the range, buying a firearm because my husband got an extra one. So it's like it became more of a hobby for me than anything.
Mhm.
And I see them coming, to the class, and when they say these things, I'm like, man, I didn't realize that this much stuff was really going on, and in this time, especially like domestic. I mean, I hear all types of stories about ladies and situations, and they're just afraid because, like, road rage, or it's just
Yeah.
it's just like
Yeah.
different things that we hear all the time in different scenarios on why we tend to buy firearms. But I try to stay away from that and make them see a different point of view of it. sometimes they'll say, well, I just, me and my kids, and I just want to buy a gun for the home. I was like, well, yeah, you can buy your firearm for the home, but do you know how to use it when that time comes? And I always express, yes, it's good to know how to use and load your firearm and clean it, but it's also a mental thing as well, because you have to
Yes.
think about adrenaline is a natural drug that your body creates that will mess up your whole scenario at that point. Something happens, you have to use that firearm, you may black out, you may like your adrenaline's pumping at that point, you may forget everything that you learned in class, you may forget every law or every step that you're supposed to take. And especially in Virginia, Virginia wants you to retreat first, and you have to have no means of escape.
What?
Then you're able to, yeah, then you have to use your firearm. So, and that's another thing people have to understand. There's local law, state law, and federal law. These are three different things that we have to abide by. And, so it becomes not just a one day learning thing, it becomes an overall learning thing. And I heard you say, talk about different laws and you don't know what exactly what to do. Well, who I'm trained through is USCCA, so it's United States Concealed Carry Association. They
Okay.
also have a sister that's called Delta Defense, where they teach you outside the classroom. You have like 40, if you buy their membership, it's like 40 hours of training. They give you a book. It's concealed carry insurance. So if you use a weapon, doesn't particularly have to be a firearm. If you use a weapon, any crime, they have a lawyer on standby for you. They have bail
Oh,
money. They have the aftermath, because somebody can come back and sue you later, for defending yourself. You took their partner, but their partner was the money maker, and now they have no money to feed their family. But they have the aftermath for the civil part. And then two, they have an app that I use personally, which is free to everybody. Anytime I cross a state line,
uh-huh.
it tells me those gun laws.
Oh,
And it's not that legal jargon that we can't understand. It is like broken down to the T. And I'll share that with everybody because it's
yes.
the
If
most.
you make sure you get me that information,
I
so
will.
I can, when this episode is out, that we can put that out, because
Yes,
I think
I will.
that's a safety right there in its own.
Yes.
Like I just
So
told you, I don't know what New Jersey law says. I just know that you better not go do that because
right. And so then, and that's another thing, we try to read the laws that they put out for us, but that jargon is so confusing, and everybody has their own type of like conception or what it actually is, because one DA could say, well, I see it as this way, and the other DA says I can see it as that way. Because, like, for instance, one law, particularly in Virginia, concealed carry, it has changed in like 2011, where when you're transporting your firearm without a concealed, you can actually have it in your glove box or your center console, as long as it latches, right? But people thinking that means I'm still concealing the firearm and I have to put it on the seat. No, that has changed. So this is just Virginia. So if any listeners out there are in different states, this is just Virginia. Virginia concealed carry. So you're without a concealed carry, you're able to put in these places. And people didn't know that. They're still getting caught with, concealing a firearm because they have it in the wrong place. And that's another thing we advocate. They said, well, I don't like to, get a concealed carry because it goes to the DMV. Well, there are laws that protect you from just having your license plate ring. So, and we talked to plenty of police officers because of the line of work that we are in, and they tend to say, I don't really pay that any mind. He said that makes me feel better because they'll say, I know that you possibly will have a firearm. And he said, if you took the time to actually take a class, then I already know that you have your firearm in the
That
proper
class is
place.
major.
Yeah.
That class is
yeah.
major.
So we need to
So
get that
Just
class
that class.
information,
I
especially
took
for people
the
that are listening in Virginia. But I hope we can expound on that as well. But I want to
yeah.
ask the ladies some questions. I'm gonna start with you, Jasmine.
Yes,
Your
ma'am.
thought. What is your question you have for Bailey?
Well, I didn't know now how I could do it because she has babies. We
Mhm.
have Preston is already getting to that age where he's going to be able to go to ranges. You ever thought about doing classes for kids?
Yes, we actually are going to start doing that probably starting in the end of the month or next month. So we're
Yeah, I'm
going to
the
do
like,
like we're going to do like a one like it's probably for children, it's going to be for free, with of course with the permission of parents. We already allow, if we have a basic pistol class, shooting class, if they are 13 years or older, we already allow them. And if you feel comfortable with your child being younger than 13, shooting on the range with your permission, we don't mind that at all. Um, and so we are going to start doing classes with children because I just around here alone.
Aside for that, baby, I'm not playing with you.
No, for real.
Immediately.
um it's sad because there's a lot of high schools around here, and unfortunately I think like 2 weeks ago
Yep.
they found a revolver in a trash can at an elementary school, and it's like, wow. Like, I feel like parents and people or custodial guardians, whoever, that have firearms, I feel like it is so important to share with your children that you have a firearm, because one, they have so much access to stuff now, video games, they're on social media. I mean, these, and I'm sure, they talk to their peers or whatever, and their peers say anything, that's something we can't control while they're at school. And, to hear that guns are being found at school, kids thinking about shooting up schools and putting stuff on, on social media and thinking it's okay, and think, people are not playing games anymore, about that. And I always, that's another thing I advocate in classes too, because that's another fear of most women. I have a teenager or have kids, and I said, well, I said, if they can identify what a gun is, then that's the time to have that conversation. Just telling them, listen, I have a gun, don't mess with it, because that's what makes them go mess with it. That's what makes them curious. That
Absolutely.
makes them want to go find it. And then that's when the unfortunate happens. And I've seen, there's so many videos on YouTube, like there was some kids in, I think, Philadelphia. They were in the bathroom and the girl shot her cousin because she didn't know one was in the chamber, just
Oh
on a
my
video
God.
on, social media. And I was just like, oh my goodness. Like,
Yeah.
and then to see that, that's like, this is our reality at this point, that kids don't really understand about firearms. Yes, I'm a country girl. My dad told me a little bit about guns, but I was just like, that's really not my thing. I don't want to go outside and shoot at targets and stuff, because we were able to do that on the countryside. But here in the city, where kids are stealing guns out of vehicles, or live in projects, and they have access to more guns, or they're able to literally buy them off the street, they have a little bit more access. Or because in Richmond, I believe over 700 guns last year got stolen out of vehicles. That's just out of vehicles in the city of Richmond. Like, that's insane to me. And I'm sure most of them were teenagers, were children. And, I feel like if you're able to come to a class and sit and learn how to manipulate a firearm, why not teach that to your child? Because at this point in time, it's time for them to learn how to manipulate a firearm, and not to be dangerous about it, and know how to do that. Because also that will be saving their life. Them
Yeah.
picking up a gun, or one of their friends hand it to them, and they disarming it, taking the magazine out, taking one out of the chamber, because they don't know. So most of them don't know any better. So it's time for us as gun owners and parents to do that. And so that's why, there's another reason why, because we kept seeing so many things happening, especially at schools, and kids are getting access to firearms and bad things are happening. So that's why we decided we're gonna do a kids lesson, with the permission of parents.
That's a good thing. Chauncey, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
Put myself on mute because you never know who comes through my house. Being that I purchased a firearm, but I did it where I went and I applied for my permit first, waited to get that. Where I happened to live, and because it was during the pandemic, there was like a 5.5-month wait for me to take the photo after I was approved. And it's really not a permit until the photo has been taken and you've been given the license here in Philadelphia. That it took that long for me to do that part. My decision at that point was to wait and then purchase my firearm, because I wanted to have the license first, because you were making points about not really being familiar with what the laws are and about how I transport it. I don't have a permit. How am I going to transport the gun? And my husband's like, you need to go get, I don't have my permit yet. When I get my permit, then I'll get my gun. And so not the other way around. Long story short, we went to the gun show. And I went with my husband, so we went together, and he gave the same advice that you did. It's not a perfect fit. It's not a one size fit all. You have to find what works for you or whatever. I was so surprised and shocked when I got to the gun show just to see the diversity in the people there, how crowded it was. I was 12 years old when my daddy taught me how to shoot. And so if you have to protect your family, then you shoot, you know what I mean? But I wanted to make sure that I understood how to properly carry it. And, the guys, like you said, can be somewhat macho, where we're a little more methodical about how we do it, how we go about it. So I invited Kimmy and a bunch of other friends, and we took a lesson. We all went down here in Philadelphia and, had a class. They took us to the range. And I had quite a few ladies that were in the class that said, you know what, when it was time to get to the range and it was time to shoot, how uncomfortable they were doing it. And they were just like, I just can't do this part.
Oh.
What do you suggest, and what is the advice that you give to people who might be in that situation? They get and they can do the comprehension part of how to clean it, how to hold it, how to carry it, but when it comes time to actually shoot it, it's a whole nother different story. What would be the advice that you would give to people like that?
So YouTube, surprisingly, there are a plethora of YouTube videos, and it's unfortunate that a lot of these people don't get monetized for what they show. Oh God, I'm drawing, but I can't think of that girl name right now. Oh man, it's a girl on YouTube that shoots all types of firearms. And I've had the pleasure to meet a lot of people going to SHOT Show, which is one of the largest. It's like a show all for every manufacturer, basically in the gun realm. Like you meet all people all types of walk of life, anybody and everybody deal with firearms across the United States of America. This is in Vegas, and you'll be surprised. There are a lot more women instructors popping up. And so, my advice, once again, I'm gonna go back to USCCA. This is their thing. Their thing is, well, you look up by your zip code and it'll tell you who's in your area. And if you don't have that luxury of having a female instructor, because I know sometimes men can be not as patient with us when we go to the range, pace yourself. That's what I tell everybody. Pace yourself. Because at first I was going to the range with my husband, and I was like, all right, bro, you're doing a little bit too much. Like I need to learn. You're being rough with me, and I'm not. I'm not. It made me uncomfortable. It did.
You needed a more gentle approach.
Correct. So I explained to him, and I expressed to him. I said, hey, I was like, I got you. I said, well, let me kind of like learn on my own. I had to kind of like tell him that. And now it had gotten to the point where I had started to go to the range by myself. Got a membership. We got a membership together. I just started going to the range, and I just say pace yourself. You don't have to. You can, for one, we really are concentrating when we go to the range. Is everybody else in the stall? That's what really messes us up. When everybody else is around us, like I gotta trust these people with firearms around me not to shoot me. That's one thing that we worry about. Two,
like this.
I have to sit here and like rely on myself. So I tell ladies when they go to the range, get you a target, probably like a 6-inch target about this big around. Don't you see people when they first get there, they put their target like 25 yards out. Well, first of all, anything self-defense wise, it's not going to be that far apart because you're going to jail. I'm going to tell you that now. It don't matter what state you're going. Whatever state you in, that's person down. Put your target at like 3 yards, and 3 yards may sound close, but it's not. That's why they have backstops for all the ammunition that you shoot downrange. Put that target like 3 yards in front of you, and then you'll start to notice. Then start to put your target out. But it's all about patience and pacing yourself, because one, there's a lot of things you have to remember. You have to control. One, control your firearm. Pay attention to what you're doing, because obviously they have, range safety officers there, and some of them are there to help. Some of them are like, oh no, you need to go because you don't know what you're doing. Some don't pay them no mind. So it's just honest, but most range safety officers are men, and like I said, they're not patient with ladies. So I would say do a little research, see if there's a range that has a female instructor, or see if there's a range that tend to have better stars or have better reviews with women on them, because I'm pretty sure there's some pretty good amount of ranges up in that area. But you just especially when you go with people with that that makes you more comfortable too. But it's something that we have to get over. It's not an overnight thing, I promise you. It ain't. It took me a minute. It took me a minute from doing one of these to learning how to shoot with both eyes. It's a mental process. Like it's knowing and feeling comfortable. You have to get there first, because like I said, it took me a minute to start and carrying one in the chamber until I realized, oh well, if somebody come and attack me today, they're not gonna sit there and wait for me to rack and slide. They're not gonna wait for me. I got to do what I need to do to save my life, So it becomes, it's a mental preparation. So take some deep breaths before you start shooting. If you feel like you're about to pant or you're sweaty, take a break, because most of the time when you go to the range, you are renting that lane for an hour. That hour is yours, regardless if you're shooting or if you putting one bullet down the range every 5 minutes. That is your hour. That's your time. And also too, it becomes a stress reliever, believe it or not. If you go often, more than just like a few times, or if you go more than once a month, whether you put 100 rounds down the range, 5 rounds, you did your due diligence. You'll start to feel more comfortable, and then it's going to become that moment where it's like, okay, I want to try another gun at this point, and then it's like, oh, okay, let me go ahead and buy that one. It gets better. It really does. And I'm not just saying it because I do this full time. I mean, like, it's to the point, okay, I put it like this. My mom has worked for the Department of Corrections for 25 years. She had to qualify with a Glock chambered in 40. She has not. She just started carrying a firearm probably like this year. I would never thought I would see my mom carrying a firearm. My father owned plenty of guns and just started carrying a pistol every day. So it's not an age thing. It's not a thing where people just starting to carry, because times is different from what they used to be, and it's better for you to be prepared than you're prepared. So that's why I said, just when you go to the range, just take your time, because like I said, that hour or whatever time you have on the range is yours. Just pace yourself. That's my advice when you go to the range, especially when you feel like, okay, like, and it's like instant anxiety when you first started going. It's like instant anxiety, but it gets better. It really does.
Okay. So last.
Oh, you hit on so many of the good parts. I just kept shaking my head because I'm gonna leave my question for that app that you give me, because I think that app will probably answer it.
Yeah.
But I've gone through all of those different, everything you express is what I've gone through. So I got my concealed license 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I only got it because my daughter became 18 and she had grown up with weapons in the house the whole time, and we were teaching her. So she wanted to get a gun. Right. And I thought, you still live here. You're not going to shoot me in my sleep. So I'm going to go, and we're going to go. Let me tell you, you're not going to know how to shoot a gun, and I don't.
Exactly. I never thought about that, Celeste.
No. That's what the people on the TV talk about. No. So, and she's a pistol. This one is a hothead. So I really wanted to make sure. And what happened is we went to take the class, and we both walked out of there like, this is too much responsibility.
It's a lot.
Not a joke.
It's a lot.
This is not a joke. And we were like, I don't even want one. I don't even want it. And that was a major fuss. I joined the Well-Armed Women's Gun Association. On board, I do that. You're right. Sometimes I wasn't comfortable because a lot of people just didn't look like me. And I said, I'm going to be the one in the news going, by accident, we shot this little black girl. That didn't make me comfortable. I'm serious. So I had to get private lessons. I'm still struggling with, I carry every day, but I have to park it in the car to go in a government building, and I can't go into this store. And if I have a drink after hours, I got to put it in my back thing. And it's a lot. It's a lot of responsibility. And you're right, Kim. I don't even think I want it. I want to just be the one underneath the thing hiding while somebody else save the day. I don't want to save the day. You know what I'm saying? We get in a shootout in the store or something. I want to be the one behind the bookcase, because It's a lot of responsibility.
It's a lot.
And Bailey, I'm glad that you made the point, because what I have learned is there is a difference between people who have guns and then gun ownership, right? And I feel like those of us that are in the gun ownership category are the ones that are being responsible, right? Because we know people on the street are getting these weapons, not knowing how to use them. And that's why so many innocent bystanders are always killed. They're never the intended target. It's always someone else that has just gotten caught in the crossfire. What would be your, and I know this is a topic that could just go off in so many other directions, but if we lived in a perfect world, what would be your recommendation on situations where, you know, I had a situation just last year, walked in the house, and we have a pretty good neighborhood. You know what I mean? Stuff goes on around, but not always within our development. 2 seconds, I'm walking in the house. My door closes behind me. I saw the one young man. He crossed me as I was coming back from my in-laws, and I said hi to him. He said hi to me. He crossed over the street. He went to walk. I could not see behind me until I saw it on the video camera that another young man came from down this way, and they started shooting at each other. My door literally closed behind me when it started. I asked the dog if he wanted to come out. Had he came out, we would have been caught in the crossfire. But because he looked at me and was like, nah, I'm staying in, I walked in the door and boom, bang, 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 bang. And my son's first reaction to me, who is in his 30s, he says to me, Mom, where was your gun?
Like you were going to join in the shootout. Like, what? Who was your gun?
That's the point that I was making that Bailey made about the difference between women overthinking and men. My son's first reaction was, where was your gun? So, okay, what would be your recommendation in situations like this? Because you hit on a point when you said, even if we're not teaching the kids how to necessarily shoot, but to get them acclimated to seeing a gun, being around a gun, knowing that there's a gun in the chamber and things of that nature. Do you think that that's something that could be taught in a classroom setting?
Oh, hell no. Y'all know that they ain't gonna be helped. They trying to take books around about black people. You think they're gonna take class?
Not in school, definitely not.
No.
And that's unfortunate because you don't even get financial literacy in school. So I definitely I doubt that
but you know what, y'all? I think it's the other way around. We could get that through faster. We could get it
right.
Well, we teach that at home. My grandkids, they've been around it. Their father's a police officer. All of us carry everybody but one child. Right. So we teach. I mean, not like the Spanx does, but we teach and we make them touch and we make them like
know what it looks like.
Yeah, you need to understand that this is not a joke and this is real metal and let's do that little dry clicking now so you can get that out your system because you can't do this. Yeah, but I don't know.
I think the kids are so different now because let me tell you, my dad, my whole family was like the OK Corral. You know, my grandfather, like when my brother go to edit this, he gonna be laughing his butt off. But my grandfather, he had a gun everywhere, under the couch, and and he had it under the pillow, but like, when we grew up in the area, we 50 plus, so when we grew up, you didn't kind of buck against your parents, and you might have wanted to do that, you know what I mean? But you wasn't going to, like, it wasn't a place where you can get, I tell you, under the couch, under the pillow. My grandfather used to be looking at the Westerns and start shooting up in the ceiling. We all knew, like, my grandmom used to be like, come over here, because he can go into his act, you know what I mean? We all knew, you know what I mean, that the gun can kill you. You know what I mean?
Listen,
it can kill you. That's the big thing we haven't said. The guns can kill you. You know what I mean?
So, I ain't gonna tell you how my dad shot the TV when Roots came on the first time in 1977.
That's what I'm saying. That was how that was our gun education. You saw something you didn't like, you know what I mean? Or the family members arguing with each other, you know what I mean? They may start shooting. Now, we grew up in North Philly. They might start shooting outside the window, you know what I mean? but you just knew gang wars used to be when I was a kid, and they're still continuing today. You used to go hide, so the responsibility of owning a gun was never a part of the language. You know what I mean? It was like, okay, you're going to use it, but the end result is somebody may not be here tomorrow. You may not be here tomorrow, so that's huge. I think that we really emphasize on the education part, Bailey, but the repercussions of you not being educated and knowing what to do can take away your livelihood, your life, and someone else's life. Are you really mentally ready for that?
5 years, right? I think
I do have a question.
The federal law is 5 years. If you
mandatory
5 years, right?
Yeah,
because we know how many people, like I said, in the hood had dirty guns.
So I want to know what your thoughts are on the bus driver that shot the passenger.
Oh, yo, did y'all
I'm glad you asked.
I've been watching it all week.
Y'all might not want to ask me because I'm telling you right now.
Well, they shot each other.
They shot each other, but he got fired. And you know what? I said this in our little chat. He got fired, but he's gonna get another job somewhere. You know what I mean?
He is. Just from so my mom actually told me about it. I didn't see it until later.
Woo!
And she was like, "Did you see the bus driver shooting back at the guy?" I was like, "No." It's like, "Where was this at?" Like, I couldn't figure out where it was at. So come find out, I was in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so just from my experience, like I said, people, I can tell that bus driver was a hothead because, for one, he was prepared. Don't get me wrong. Homeboy was ready. Yeah, he was ready. He already knew what was going to happen because he observed that guy, for one. And that's another thing that I advocate and teach about is situational awareness. Try to avoid that situation, escape it, or if you have to defend yourself, and you only got like probably a minimum of like 3 seconds to do that, to decide, make a decision what you're going to do. Yes, I feel like he had every right to shoot that guy because once he brandished and showed that gun wholeheartedly, yes, I would have shot too, whether he shot a bullet first.
Yeah.
But he went overboard when the guy was retreating and got off the bus. From one, he forgot where he was because he had other patrons on that bus. So he should have, yes, he could have shot at him, him being right beside. But once that guy started running, that bus driver should have stopped shooting at that point, because at that point, when he stood up and started shooting to the back of the bus, he put everybody else in danger at that point. But I commend him, for being ready.
Sideways.
Yeah.
He said, "Stop the bus." He was like, "Why?"
The Nissan divider.
Yeah, I commend him, for doing what he did, trying to save himself, because ultimately, like, I want to go home, and regardless of, and I've always said that too, in Virginia, the no gun, no firearm sign is based on private property. It's not a state law, right? And there are some signs that says no open carry. So that I think we misread the sign. Sometimes we said no open carry. That don't mean I can't conceal my firearm. But I'm gonna guarantee you, Bailey Banks gonna have a gun everywhere she go. Okay, she packing. And
the only thing that gives me angst is if I go out and have a drink.
Yeah, so then that's another thing. What state are you in? Where are you?
I'm in Virginia.
Oh, so you're in Virginia. Girl, let me tell you something. You can carry inside of a bar,
but
conceal,
drink, right?
but you cannot consume. So if you're
I'm going in the bar to consume, honey.
Don't take it in there.
I'm consuming. So I got it in the back I'm going in the bar not to use the bathroom.
Oh yeah, no, you cannot consume when you carry the phone.
Exactly.
At home, man.
You going to jail?
Yeah, you is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I want to share this one joke with y'all. I don't know whether Kim even know it. When we used to work at Verizon together, at one point, all of the workers would park their car outside of the private property in the main street. And I would go, get your car from out there, because that means you got your gun in your car. I ain't playing with you. Get your car back on this property. Because they knew that since they were carrying in their car, our rules, our code of conduct,
right?
They could not have their weapon. But as
code of conduct.
and see
And so then that leads to the bus driver losing his job,
Yes.
correct? Because,
Yes.
Correct.
you know,
That was
in
their
the
policy.
position that he's in, the policy is that you cannot carry. Now, we understand that you are often put, my husband was, you know, working in transportation prior to retirement recently, even though he, you know, he was in management or whatever. You understand that many of these bus drivers are put in a situation where they have to protect themselves. Some of them have been shot and things have happened to them. And I was just saying to the ladies earlier that I used to have the feeling that there are some professions out there that should be allowed to carry, get the proper training, and should be allowed to be able to carry. However, the caveat to that is that with so many issues with mental health that's going on right now, and those of us that seem like we're okay and we're really not okay, that just puts us in a whole nother realm. Ergo, the title, you know, postal worker, right? Going
They still
postal.
use that?
So yeah, they still use that terminology, but it's not, you know, might be unfair to some of the postal workers. However, it's still kind of, you know, is the same category.
Well, now it's gonna be going postal.
I'm glad you said that because I've always, well, one, you know, things happen to people when they're the most vulnerable, like and happen in vulnerable places, grocery stores or states that don't allow firearms. Like for instance, New York, you can't even have pepper spray or a taser, you know, in the state of New York, or like, you know, hospitals and, you know, people are the most vulnerable at all times. And these people or those people that do these mass shootings, which quote unquote is 3 or more people injured or succumb to death, it's unfortunate because those people are the ones that kind of like do their homework and know where to go. And you know, that's a conversation for another day because we can go on and on about that. And you talked about mental health. And see, this is the downfall about that with us, you know, federal firearms dealers. So we can't discriminate against people, right?
Right.
But there is a well in Virginia. I believe this may be countrywide. I'm not sure. I'm sure it's probably countrywide. Because it's on the federal firearms license document, or the federal document that you fill out. It's called the red flag law. So if a person has been involuntarily, voluntarily committed in any form of fashion, or if a doctor has deemed you any type of medical reasoning of mental or whatever the case may be, you are flagged when it comes to buying a firearm. And then another thing that falls on the red flag law, just an example, if a person calls, which people are having issues with now, so significant others or spouses are calling police and saying, I feel like such and such is going to hurt themselves, right? And this person doesn't know anything about it. They come buy a firearm and they get declined. Like, why am I getting denied, you know, for buying a firearm? You know, I didn't have to commit. People always think just because I had committed a felony, that doesn't deny you. You can get denied in Virginia for domestic violence now, which is a great thing. Like, I don't know why that has not always been a thing, but you can get denied for domestic violence. But when people call and do something out of spite for a person, that ultimately leads to a realm of other things just because of this red flag law. Yes, I totally agree. People have been, you know, diagnosed mentally, then yes. But then we see those ones that are buying, which actually, to be honest, we have experienced ourselves. We actually had a guy that came in the store. He came by a shotgun. You know, we meet people all types of walk of life, you know, and we just got like a little, not a funny feeling, but I was like, oh, you know, he's very quiet. He didn't hold a lot of conversation, you know, but he was asking kind of like weird questions. And so he asked, you know, I just want like a little cheap shotgun, you know, what type of ammunition? He said, well, what do we need? So, okay, well, so Sean asked, you know, we asked everybody the same question. What are you using it for? Self-defense? You going hunting? Like, what are you using this shotgun for? He said, you know, just home defense, you know. Then he started asking questions like, well, what does a slug do? How does it penetrate whatever? Or what damage does it do? So, my husband kind of looked at him like, well, slug, leaves a gaping hole, because it's a big hunk of metal, buckshot kind of like it's multiple, it's 9 pellets or more, does, spreads out, so you use the home defense. And so probably not even like 3 or 4 weeks later, we get a trace. So what happens is a trace comes into us today to find out who the firearm belonged to.
Oh no.
So they reach out to the manufacturer. The manufacturer say, hey, I sent it to this distributor. The distributor says I sent it to Virginia Tactical. So we had to pull the paperwork. And I was there at the office and at the store. And I said, so Sean, it's not common that we get a trace for a firearm that we just sold,
Right.
And so, I found the guy's name and I said, oh my God, it was the guy that came to the store the other day, the one was acting kind of weird. I said, oh God, what did he do? Like immediately I was like, oh God, I said, what did he do? Like my heart sunk. So my husband ended up looking up his name. We found his obituary. He killed himself.
Oh my God.
And in that obituary, they mentioned, oh, he's been struggling with mental health and he's been such and such. And I was like, how dare they? I felt insulted because I felt like that was something that I did, knowing I can't discriminate against this guy because he's eligible to purchase a firearm. But them as a family to put on his obituary that he's been struggling with mental health and y'all knew that, why would you not get him help? So there's some things that are out of our control as people buying firearms, and most of these people that are doing mass shootings and they're using their mental health issue as a cover up for it. That's not fair, because now you're making it harder for people who are able to own firearms, who have that capability to know better and have that capability to pass a background check with flying colors, where the ones that are doing the mass shootings and doing these things, they keep hollering out this mental health thing. And then that's why they placed the red flag law into that. But it's so hard to prove, So like I said, that's like a can of worms that we can talk about all day. Literally.
Yeah, I think we are going to definitely need a part 2.
Yeah.
And I think this has been and Bailey, thank you so much, because you have been a wealth of knowledge, and we do need you to come back because we need you to continue this conversation, because this conversation in this episode went longer than our normal episodes went, but I didn't kind of cut it off because I believe that it's so much out here that needs to be explained about owning guns and just being responsible as a gun owner, because we are in such peril times. Like if you see the bus driver turn and just start, and we having like an actual OK Corral shootout, this is kind
of. And
mind
you, there was a barrier between the two.
Oh, he got that barrier down. Like he was like, I'm going to get your ass.
Right, but that's the only reason why both of them survived, is because the barrier was there to begin.
But that barrier was put there for a purpose. You know what I mean?
It was put there for a purpose.
And that tells you a lot right there. We got these metal detectors going into schools. Mass shooting, all kind of things are going on. So everybody, really quickly, final thoughts. Jasmine, we'll start with you.
Gun education is super important. If you are in Richmond or in Virginia at all, you should probably check them out. Because when I met her at her class, I seriously asked her if I shot the bullet, if it would come back at me. So that's not.
She's not lying, y'all. I was like, what?
Bailey would not let me lie here. The problem, the fear that you get from guns is because a lot of the times we don't know it, and we're too scared to be like, hey, I don't know how this works. Instead of being like, oh, I think these are bad, we should just ban them. How about you just say, I don't understand them. Can you just can I just take a class with Bailey? And we left that day after that class. I went to the all ladies one and we went shooting. And I was one of those people like Bailey. I was like, I don't want to touch this stuff, but try me now. No, I'm saying now that I have it, I know you can't use it like that. Bailey taught me. Anything I do, I text Bailey before I do it, because that's my lawyer.
Chauncey?
So Bailey, thank you so much. We appreciate we definitely need to get the name of that app before you leave us today.
Yes.
But no, definitely encourage, share your information, and we will try to make sure that we get the information out to everyone, and just be responsible and get your kid.
Right.
Hey.
Celeste?
I just want to say thank you because I appreciate just you giving me permission to take my time. Because I've been carrying, and it is true. It's a difference between being a defensive owner, and I guess the other one that you described was
like proficiency or
proficiency,
marksmanship.
because I'm still closing one eye when I shoot.
Oh yeah, girl, I had to fix that.
Yeah, I need help with that, and I think I can protect my home just fine because it's that, and I'm kind of familiar with the laws, but I appreciate just getting the permission to just, take my time and be more open to practicing, because I really don't.
We're in the area, Celeste, so when you want to take a class.
I'm going to join probably today, because I take private lessons at lunchtime, and they just be cracking up at lunch when they know I come back. I be come back all hype like this. Like, yeah.
Celeste, you funny. Bailey, we got a couple things we need from you. We need,
what you need?
How anybody viewing this episode can reach you. We need to know about the app. You can just talk it at a high level, but we definitely need to know how you can be reached. Talk about the app, because I'll put it in the link when I put this episode out. But thank you again. So tell us, how can anybody get this education, wealth of knowledge, and security of being a gun owner?
One, Google is your best friend. So you can literally Google us at Virginia Tactical Shooting Academy. Our website is www.vatactical.com. Everything we offer is on that website, literally from top to bottom. Our Instagram is VA Tactical RVA. That has some of our videos that you'd like to see. We're on Facebook, Virginia Tactical Shooting Academy, LLC. Email us, va.tactical.llc@gmail.com. Call me, 804-234-3346. My option line is number 2. My line is open from 9 to 7 p.m. every day. I don't mind. Literally, everybody walks out this store or out my location. I say, if you have questions, don't hesitate to email or call us, because if I don't have the answer today, I'm sure gonna get it for you by tomorrow. So we're open to anything, so we do private lessons, private classes, we'd be more than happy to schedule anything with anybody in any given time. We also offer, free courses with United States Concealed Carry. We put those out. We also, like I said, we got the youth classes coming out. We do ladies only co-ed concealed carry for Virginia. We also can cover Maryland and a couple other states for you to get your concealed carry. So the possibilities are endless. Just Virginia Tactical Shooting Academy.
And the app.
Can you check on Jersey and let me know? Y'all can come.
Yeah, I can check on Jersey. I can check on that.
I mean, I come to Virginia often, so I can come down.
You know what, Bailey?
And what's the name of the app, Bailey?
Where your shop is at right now.
Oh, say that again.
Her salon was around where you're at.
Yeah, I was right on that corner.
Oh, okay.
That's what made me get a gun. I had to leave. I had to leave the building, and it was all kind of strange people waiting for me. So,
girl,
look,
everybody's strange. I don't know them, so.
I know that's right. And Bailey, the name of the app?
Yeah, so the name of the app is Reciprocity by USCCA. So RECIPROCITY USCCA. So I don't know if everybody can see it. So what it shows is I have my permit in Virginia. When I click on Virginia, it literally tells me what states show that observe my I have reciprocity with. So I believe Virginia has 34 where I can conceal carry, and it gives me all the laws, but it's not in legal jargon. So anytime you cross state lines, if you turn on your location, immediately it tells you, hey, I see that you're in North Carolina. This is what you can and cannot do.
Oh, that's real cool. Yeah, we definitely gonna put that out. That's real cool. Well, again, thank you, Bailey, because we will definitely have you back. I will see you when I come to Virginia. So joining me today is
your girl Celeste.
I'm Chauncey.
And Jasmine.
And I'm your girl Kimmy, and joining us today is Bailey Banks, and we thank her for joining the porch. We'll see you next Wednesday when we drop a new episode. You can catch us on our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter. Thank you for joining us tonight. Have a great week on purpose. Take care.